Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Life Unfiltered by Faz. Today's guest is incredible. Her name is Riya Sharma. You might have heard her on radio, you might have seen her at her events, or just around town. She is such a beautiful soul, and I'm so happy to have her on the show today. I don't know what to tell you without giving it away, but today she's going to be talking about things that she has never, ever spoken about before. So make sure that you listen till the end because there's some profound information. She talks about her life. She talks about her grief after the death of her husband. She talks about being a single mom, about all of the turbulence that she's gone through as a single mom. She talks about so much. She talks about her journey with therapy, with the different kind of modules that she's used. Again, I'm not going to go into it, but we may or may not be talking a little bit about ayahuasca. This is your first introduction to ayahuasca on Life Unfiltered, and we have so many episodes to go. So if you want to know if this medicine is for you, please stay tuned and make sure you listen to the end. And if you know anyone who's suffering through grief or loss of a loved one, please share this episode with them. And don't forget to subscribe to Life Unfiltered by Faz for more episodes on different types of healing therapies, including ayahuasca and plant medicine. Riya, welcome to Life Unfiltered.
Thank you, Fawzia, for having me. I watched some of your other episodes and I was blown away. You're a phenomenal host, so thank you. I feel very
And I've been waiting to do this for I don't know how long. Yes. I think we've been trying to match schedules for a really long time, but you're way too popular. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you very much for having me over.
So we're going to get straight into it, okay? Because I know you and we can talk forever.
Yes.
Riya, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who is Riya Sharma? And I don't mean just the beautiful radio host and the host of Kissa. Tell us something a little bit deeper about you.
So I am an esoteric science practitioner, which means I dabble in tarot, astrology, Western astrology, and I am actually a practicing psychic.
Wow.
I recently came out of the closet, the psychic part of it. And becoming a psychic was a very personal experience because I lost my husband 9 years ago and I was paying so much money to psychics. And then one day I thought, my God, thousands of dollars are going in, spending money to connect to him. How is it that an absolute stranger is able to connect to him? And I had a relationship with him.
Wow.
Why am I not able to connect to him?
Sure.
And then I embarked on this path of trying to learn how do people connect to the other side. I learned it over 2 years ago, but I was very scared of coming out of the closet and saying that I can connect to dead people.
Because I guess people will come back to you and be like, oh, I don't know if she's really telling the truth.
And also this whole element around death, people are take it in a very mixed manner. Not many people are comfortable the fact that you can connect with dead people,
right,
or that you can communicate with the other side. I went for a course about 3 weeks ago, and after that time I said, I'm not going to hide this anymore.
So this is really new. So we're going to there's a lot of new things that Riya is going to be talking about in this podcast. So you guys better watch till the end.
Yes.
But that's incredible. So, okay, let's go back a little bit. So tell me in terms of, first of all, what got you into radio in the first place? Because you have this beautiful, confident persona. Like, did you grow up like that? Has it always been Riya Sharma, or?
I would have to say that the radio journey was all thanks to my mother. There was once, very many years ago, at that point, radio was your only source of entertainment in Nairobi.
Absolutely.
Okay? And there were some really strong media personalities, radio personalities that were there that I looked up at. And I used to think, wow, such clarity in the way they speak and everything.
Yeah.
I still remember there was an ad that they had run to say, how would it be like hearing your voice in 110 countries? Okay.
Wow.
And I thought, okay, interesting. I would like to know what this is about. I applied for the radio job, but my dad, I grew up in a very conservative Punjabi family. And my father was like, what do you mean? Like, how does this even make sense? Why do you want to be on the radio? How is it going to benefit you?
Right.
And I said, well, I just want to try. And I was working in a bank at that time.
I still went in the bank.
Yeah, you know what? So monotonous, and it's yeah, I would just say that it's a very different thing. Then I told my mom that we have to go for this audition. And I went to their studios in Baricho Road. Fawzia, I'm not joking. My audition time was 10 p.m.
10 p.m.
10 p.m. It was
You were even allowed out of the house at 10 p.m.?
Yeah. And I took my mother with me, and my mother was like, and I was like, oh my God, are you going to come? Because who's going to feed Papa food
Right.
for dinner? You know, she's like, how are you going to manage?
Yeah.
And she said, it's okay, let's make it work. She took me for the audition. My time was 10 p.m. My slot was 10 p.m. And when I reached there was a long line of people right
I can
outside.
only imagine.
And I looked at my mom and I was like, Mom, there's no point of being here.
Yeah.
They probably already selected who they
Right.
wanted because it's been going on since morning.
Yeah.
And my mom said to me, we're not going to leave until you go in there and do your best.
Wow.
There were 75 people at that audition, and I was one of the 4 that was selected.
No way.
Yes.
And how old were you then?
oh my God, I think I was 19 or 20.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
story.
And the only reason I got in was because I was backed by a mother who said, we're
There's
going
no way we're
nowhere
leaving. Yeah.
until you go in there and do your
But that's
best.
so important, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and I think the life has changed a little bit in terms of being online and having
Yes.
online presence and people
Yes.
being comfortable talking on phones and radios and podcasts.
Yes.
But at that time, it must have been super nerve-wracking.
It was nerve-wracking. And getting selected
Yeah.
meant that now you were really in the public eye.
Yeah.
Where
I mean, that's probably a whole. Okay.
yeah,
That's
that's a I could sit here and tell you crazy stories, but I would say that, and I did both jobs simultaneously. During the day I was a banker, and in the evening
Oh
I was
my
on
God.
radio. One job paid the bills and one was very fulfilling.
100%.
So you can imagine, radio has been, I met my husband through radio. I met my godparents through radio. Some of the best friends that I
Wow.
have till today have been through the radio.
Well, I'm meeting my husband through my podcast, I'm sure.
Okay.
And maybe all of the rest of them
You
too.
never know. You just never know who's
Wow,
listening
that's
to you.
amazing.
And who, yeah.
Well, you do really have like a striking, beautiful voice. But now that I know that you've been doing it since you're a kid,
Yeah.
that kind of explains it.
It's
Because you're
been-
very comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I feel like when I listen to you on the radio. Like there's a lot of comfort. There's no, like I'm all over the place sometimes when I'm speaking, but you have a good flow, the things that you say, the way that you say it. It's beautiful.
you.
It's beautiful.
There's one thing I also want to say, that when you're on radio, people think that you just put on the mic and talk.
Right.
It's not like that. It is a very tedious and time consuming preparation process
Sure,
to be
sure.
on air, because every time that you say something, it can be held against you.
Oh, yeah.
And there could be severe
So
consequences.
I've been invited next week to speak on some wellness stuff on
Okay.
radio, and
Right.
I was like, wait a second, but this is not my podcast. Like I don't have a full team sitting there making
Yes.
sure that I'm
And it's all
saying
live.
the right stuff. Yeah, it's live.
There you
so I was
go.
just like, okay, wait, let me think about this for a second,
Yeah.
because that's what it is, right? Like you can say something,
Yeah.
and then people are out there and they
Yeah.
can hold it against you.
Exactly. And you have to apologize on air as well if you cross the line, which I have done, and I said something really bad.
Yeah.
And it was
Do you want to
picked
give
up.
us an example?
Yeah.
Or- okay.
I don't know. Of course, Vikash Patni.
Yes, of course.
So Vikash and I we were hosting the breakfast show together.
Yeah.
Vikash's mom, unfortunately, had multiple cancers.
I remember that.
There was a time that we were talking about this, and we were preparing we used to do what we would call the morning news.
Okay.
In the morning news, we would cover the biggest stories in the newspaper. One of them was that local doctors here would tell patients who come to them that, oh, don't get treated here, go to India.
Oh yeah,
And they
I've
would get
noticed.
kickbacks.
Yes, I think that happened with my dad when he had a bypass. But
Oh,
this was this is over 15 years ago, but I'm pretty sure that's exactly what happened.
Yes. Now, that day, we didn't prep properly for that story, because normally everything is rehearsed, it's prepped. You say this, I'll say this. We cut off in less than a minute and we move on to the songs.
Sure.
So we covered that story, and Vikash said, when my mom had cancer, one of the doctors said to them, when they said, could you please give us a discount? The doctor said, do you think I'm selling fruits and vegetables here? Don't ask me for a discount.
Wow.
When he shared that story with me, something inside me snapped, Fawzia. So I said, you know what, Vikash? Some doctors think that they're champagne in a tall glass,
right.
but all they really are is warm piss in a cup.
You said that online.
I said
Oh my God.
online.
Oh my God. On live
The-
radio.
The Doctors Association was
they
tuned in.
really?
Oh my God. Later that evening, I was in bed with my husband, and my boss calls me. And he looks at me and he goes like, "Why's your boss calling you at 9 o'clock at night? Doesn't she know that you're a family woman and this is not the appropriate time to call?" I said, "Well, I don't know why she's calling me." Now she was, my boss was, she commanded respect.
Yeah, sure.
So I pick up the phone and she's like, "Riya, tell me, what did you guys talk about this morning?" And I'm like, "Nothing," because in my head I had forgotten that
Sure.
story. And she goes like, "What about this paste and champagne and what is that?" And I was like, "Oh my God." And then of course, you cannot hide because everything that you say gets recorded. Okay?
Right,
So they went
right.
and they called me in and they
Yeah.
replayed it.
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she goes like, "What were you smoking? Why did you, what is this?" The doctor, the head of the Doctors Association, told her, "You better tell those two presenters of yours that if they ever fall sick, nobody's going to
my
treat them in Kenya, in Nairobi."
I guess you're paid to go to India.
Yeah. And like, "What rubbish are your presenters talking about?" And I said, "But
I mean,
but
is there a little bit of truth in that? Yes, there is. But I guess, you know what, you're a radio presenter. You don't really get to make
yeah.
a judgment like
you
that.
can't." And of course, I crossed the line.
Yeah.
And I had to go on air and I had to apologize. And after that, of course, I was very careful. But that
Sure.
moment
Yeah.
taught me that on air, you cannot be reactive, you can't be emotional. Because
like-
in my head, I'm like, I come from a family of like, my older brother's a doctor. My mother's one.
Right.
We have many doctors in the family.
Yeah.
Right?
You're not making a dig at all the doctors. However, there is some truth in that. And I guess now we have social media where people can rant and rave.
Of
People
course.
like me are
And now
always
we have
ranting and
Google
raving.
doctors. People would be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, let me tell you why you can't lose weight. Go on to
Exactly.
Google and
It's
so it's evolved.
It's
But
true.
back in the day, you had to be very
really,
responsible
yeah.
with how you
and
said
I guess
things.
especially in Nairobi. I mean, there's maybe in the States you could get away with
And
it, but
also,
definitely not here.
for me, I thought, how can a doctor who's meant to be like in such a noble profession say that? They don't ask you for a discount. Am I selling boga?
I mean, that in itself is really disrespectful.
Exactly.
Okay, and the person's obviously asking for a discount for reason. It's not like they're just like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I have
exactly.
billions in my account.
Yes.
But hey, just give me a discount anyway."
Imagine.
No, that's
So
not nice.
that was, cringe moment for me.
Okay, so sorry, you mentioned a few times that you said that your husband passed away.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk a little. I know we've been laughing a lot, but let's
Yeah.
get a little bit into
Yeah.
like in what time of your life, like how did that change your perspective and how you were? Did it change you as a person? Obviously it did, but maybe you can divulge in that a bit.
I was widowed for in my early 30s. The same year that I became a mother was the same year I became a widow.
Wow.
And
that's tough.
it was extremely
It was
difficult.
your first child.
It was my first
Okay.
child. And when he passed away in a very tragic manner,
Okay.
very, very tragic. And my son was only 5 months old at that time. So it was, I remember for months on end living in I have as a widow lived in an alternate reality, maybe being physically present, yes, but then mentally and emotionally being in a very different
Of course, I mean,
space.
grief is one of the most difficult. I mean, it's the most challenging and the thing that changes us the most.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about like how, I don't know, how did that shape your life? Like, how did that shape you as a person?
It's to be honest, it was more about survival.
Sure.
I was not living, I was surviving because I had a child who still
Right.
needed breakfast, needed attention, needed a mother to be present, which I was not.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep showing up despite this hurt and pain and sadness that you're carrying. And I remember when he passed away, I vowed I would never cry in front of my child.
Wow.
So every time I would be breastfeeding him, I would say, "You're covered in white light. None of this is protecting you. You're safe. You're loved. You're okay." And then I kept doing this for years on end. And later on, I realized that
You had covered up your whole grief just to protect your child.
but he was
Yeah.
the biggest absorber of that grief. Even the
Sure,
milk he was
sure.
drinking was laced with grief.
100%. And oh, Gabor Mate would have a heyday with you right now.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's what he says, right? Is that trauma gets carried from birth.
Yes.
So whatever trauma you've had,
100% that kid is absorbed.
that kid has absorbed all of it. And what we think, and I know this with a lot of my friends and family who say this, oh no, but he's not listening, or he's sleeping. But the kid works off energy,
100%.
right?
He's absorbing how you are conducting life.
And they are so much more open to energetic field that anything that you're putting into this universe, they're absorbing it.
Yes, absolutely. Fawzia, one of the biggest mistakes I made was I said I would never cry in front of this child. I started to realize as he was growing up, he would not cry.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
Yeah, and when something would happen, and I would imagine that a kid like this would get affected or cry, he wouldn't cry. And my therapist pointed it out.
Okay, wait. Now, when did you start going for therapy? Because that part is important too, right?
So very immediate.
Okay, that's good.
After my husband passed away, I was not comfortable having therapy here because everybody was super curious to know how it happened, why it happened, what was, and there were stupid instances. I would tell you, I would be going to get out to buy vegetables and I'd be randomly stopped in the supermarket to say, oh my God, Riya, did you ever get to the bottom of why this happened?
And I guess because you're quote unquote, you're a celebrity, because you're on, you have this presence on, even if it's radio. For us, celebrities were on radio. And so everyone wanted to know about your life.
Everybody wanted to know, oh, why did it happen? Oh my God, so did you get to the bottom of it? What are they saying? Are you going to get justice? And it was so pathetic. And I never felt safe having therapy here.
Sure.
I could not open up to what I was facing.
Yeah.
I could not share.
That makes me feel sad, because I do feel like I do know people who feel the same way, that they're worried. And I know that therapists there are some very, very professional therapists here. I think at the time, maybe it was just felt like the safety wasn't there, that just in case, somebody says something.
Confidentiality. People get a kick out of saying, oh, so-and-so is my client.
Yeah.
You don't need to share these details, these intricate details of whether Fawzia, Riya, or somebody else is coming to you. That should not be shared.
I agree.
So
you went out and so again, once your husband passed away, you got therapy within, let's say, a few weeks or a few months?
It was a few months, because I was still trying to figure out what had just happened. I had a very small child in the mix. My sister took me to Switzerland with her and her husband. I was like, no, I don't need therapy. And he was like, of course, you are going to go for therapy. And he knew I was very resistant to it, Kushal. So what he did was he said, I've made an upfront payment. So whether or not you do the sessions is up to you. But you need it.
At least you had that support system. And I think for women who are, even in this day and age, who are struggling with something similar. So whether your husband's passed away, or you're in an abusive relationship, or, your husband has left you, whatever it might be, two things generally happen is, one, you feel like you have to be strong for your child.
Yes.
And I think the only way that you're going to be strong for your child is if you're strong for yourself first. And we don't realize this as women, right?
100%.
We're always trying to make everyone else's life better and then think of ourselves last.
The absolute last, yes.
And the second thing is that if you're going through an event like that, or you've been through some sort of a trauma like that, the first thing you should do is go for therapy.
Yes.
And I think we start to think to ourselves that I can find the strength within me. I'm strong. I can do this myself.
Yes.
And if you don't have a support system, since you've been through something like this, what would you say to women that have struggled? Like, how important is that therapy, and how soon after should they get it?
I think that therapy itself, a lot of people have mixed opinions about that. For some, it doesn't work. Talk therapy doesn't work for some people.
Sure.
For some people, talk therapy does. They just need to emotionally vomit on somebody else and feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to, first of all, know what works for you. Okay.
That's so important. I think, please say that again.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a really important point that we've never touched on before.
Because you could go for Reiki, you could go for trauma healing, you could go for nervous system regulation, you could go for EFT, you could go for dabble in everything. And I've dabbled in so many things. And my last knock was ayahuasca, which we'll talk about later. But you have to know. There are times that people talk to you and you are like, okay, yeah, but that didn't make me feel better. For somebody, it'll be like, oh my God, I just needed to be heard.
And I think I've done both. Like in my life, okay, I haven't, I'm grateful and knock on wood, I haven't had the passing of someone like a husband. I've never been married, but for me, there's so much trauma that even builds from childhood.
Yes.
There's actually, now that I've learned, and you brought up a very good point when it comes to something like ayahuasca, I've learned that there are a lot of my traumas come from ancestors.
Yes.
And we don't really know that we're carrying all this pain that doesn't even
Epigenetics.
it doesn't even belong to us.
Yes.
So for me, it was the same thing, is that, okay, talk therapy worked when I had a breakup.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd go for talk therapy,
There.
and I was just like, okay, I feel so much better.
Yeah.
But then it's a lot of surface level
Yeah.
stuff. Okay, so you peel off the level of that onion, right?
Yes.
The peel. You get to the second level.
Yes.
Okay, what's the second level? And then you go into something deeper and deeper and deeper. And, even for me now, going into deep meditation is very healing. But plant medicine, now that you've brought it up and I'm going to get comfortable, for me has been the most groundbreaking therapy I
Yes.
could ever
Yeah.
experience. Whether it's psilocybin, whether it's, ayahuasca, whether it's iboga, there's so many.
Yes.
And every single time I've taken any kind of plant, it has broken me to the shell. So
Yeah.
please, let's talk about your experience a little bit. So first of all, what brought you to the point? So you said that you dabbled in all of these other.
Yes. I started to realize, Fawzia, that my life was slipping away. Of course, due to the grief, the fact that I was not adjusting to motherhood. And with a small child, it was very, very hard. And I remember multiple times thinking, this kid would be better without me, would be much better off without me. And then, of course, when the final goodbye happened with my husband, that visual, of in the Indians, it's customary, they bring the body home.
Yes.
And then I put my son on my husband's chest, because my husband would love to play with him like that, put him on the chest and play with him. And Yuvraj did not know that was a lifeless body that was there. So I put him on top of Bunty and said, say goodbye to daddy. That visual haunted me for years on end.
I mean, I don't even know what I have right now. Like I think, wow.
And that visual haunted me for years on end, where I would look at my child and I would
see that.
And then I remember shortly after, somebody had come home and they were seated beside me and they were stroking me and they were like, oh, Bichari Riya. Bichari in ours is
poor,
helpless,
like
and my son was there and they were like, oh, Bichara, you Raj. I don't know, there was something in that moment. It was like, oh my gosh, my life has slipped away, that I'm now a Bichari,
And how sad that people I understand why they say it like that, but there's nothing uplifting about that.
Yes.
That's like taking you from a low space and saying, okay, let me just push you a little bit lower.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand, but I can't even imagine when you're already feeling so helpless and somebody's acknowledging, like, hey, look at how
you are
helpless you
really
are.
a helpless woman. And something inside me sort of snapped, and I was like, never again am I going to be this
Bichari.
version of broken.
Yeah.
I'd rather be a bitch Ari as opposed to, a Bichari, that helpless woman.
Oh, I love that.
So these labels that we are so quick to give other people, sometimes, the way they say that parent tapes, I don't know if you've ever heard of how parent tapes keep playing in your mind as you grow.
Absolutely.
Okay, you have to be a good girl, don't answer back, it's a man's world, whatever your parent tapes were. These sentences that you sometimes say in people's lives, based on where they are at, can follow them for a very long time.
Yeah.
And we have to acknowledge responsibility for what comes out of our mouth.
Yeah.
Like the radio incident, I was fully accountable for that careless statement.
But all of us should be fully accountable in day to day.
We have to be.
Yeah.
what we say to our children, what we say to somebody else, because those words have power.
Yeah.
You know, it happened 9 years ago. Until today, I feel the energy of those, that bichari. And I'm like, I'm not a
Not that.
bichari. I'm not a
You know,
fucking
that's
bichari.
interesting because that in itself is a form of trauma, right? Like it's a form of attachment to something. Let's
Yes,
not give it the
yes.
word trauma. It is to a certain extent, but I feel like that a lot. Like my mom would always call me her dikro, so her son.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm one of 4 kids. All of us are daughters.
Yeah.
And so I embodied, speaking of words that come out of your mouth, like my mom was saying that as like, you're my strength.
Yeah.
For me, it was always like, okay, I have to embody this older son.
Yeah.
I'm not the older daughter. My mom says I'm a dikro. So what does that mean? I have to be strong. I have to be, responsible. I have to take care of my family. I have to take care of, everyone has to come first before me. And I did the same thing. Like I embodied that dikro. And now when my mom says it, I'm like, wait a second. No, I'm not.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm your daughter. Don't call me your son. And I think that shaped my entire life, like going into bodybuilding and
Yeah.
attracting men who are abusive and then making myself like even more stronger. Like, if I'm a man, then how can another
Yeah.
man take advantage of me? So there's just to go on the same thing of like words.
Yeah.
Words are important. Parents, what you tell your
Yeah.
kids is so important. You think you might be just saying something, but how it lands and how it sticks is a whole different.
And your life unfolds based on
Yeah.
those things that get reiterated.
And I think we know so much better now than we did
Awareness
before.
is everything.
Absolutely. Like our parents were doing the best that they could.
Yes.
And now we can take those learnings and say,
I will not repeat
I will not
history.
repeat history. Exactly. Okay, so now let's see. How do we get into this whole my favorite topic of life?
Yeah.
So what brought you into then saying, okay, now I've gone through all of this and now I need to go deeper into the space of healing? I can only assume that that's why you followed the path of plant medicine.
Yes. When you work on yourself, you know when things are going off the rail,
Yeah.
right? And more so when you become a parent or you're in a partnership of some kind where you want to be a better version of yourself, you know where the work needs to be
Sure.
done, right?
Sure.
Because life is not just all about having fun, going home, starting work the next day. You have to look within to say, I'm engaging in some patterns.
Yeah.
And how can I take care of that?
Okay, but there's not a lot of people who do that.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So that's beautiful that you said that.
Yeah.
And I hope and pray that the world goes that way, is that it's not just the mundane day to day, living for a paycheck, which to be honest, I did my whole life. Eventually you have to go a little bit deeper and say, okay, wait a second.
Yes.
Why am I always trying to prove myself?
Yes.
Why am I a go-getter? I used to be proud of being a go-getter or being disciplined or being a competitor or being, marketing director of so-and-so big fat company. And I had to take a step back and say, okay, it's great that you achieved all of these amazing things, but what was my why?
Yes.
And
this exactly, you're responsible for how you conduct yourself in this life. And it's your responsibility. Some people, I get clients doing tarot and the client will be like, haan, main aisi hi hu. I'm black and white. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You're black and white, and the fact that you're refusing to be flexible
right.
is putting you at a great
Or look past
disadvantage.
that.
Yeah.
Like look past that
Yes.
black and white. Or at least dig a little bit deeper to ask yourself, why am I black
Yes.
and white?
And we have to continuously put in the work. It's not a
Yeah.
one day thing or a one retreat thing.
Absolutely.
It's continuously saying, oh, hold on a minute. Why am I behaving like this? Where does it stem from?
Right.
Right? And of course, I knew, and so just want to go back to say that when I was widowed, I also joined the family business where I started working for my in-laws.
Okay.
I was the only woman from the family in a male setup.
Wow.
The industry I work in, we're in the agribusiness sector. That was my way of paying tribute to my husband, of
Sure.
keeping him alive. So I was trying to convert so much of my pain into purpose. I had a 5-month-old. I had joined the business, and I was navigating a shitty kind of grief, And my life then became all about proving a point. Okay. It was so hard, Fawzia, to survive some days that it was a performance.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I was performing. I was like
Absolutely.
constantly performing.
We're just wearing different hats.
Yeah.
We're wearing different masks. It's not even a hat. Wearing different masks and not going
Yeah.
in and saying, who is Riya?
Yeah.
We're saying, okay, Riya's a mother and
Yeah.
Riya's
And Riya is
in-law.
hurting.
Yeah.
And maybe she doesn't need to do all of these things right now. And to be honest, I did not grieve Bunty Shah for years after he died because I was performing. I was a robot. I was just being present for the things that I needed to be present for, but never for myself.
What a realization. And I think we all do that in some capacity or another. And I think, like, again, I think women do it particularly
Yeah.
well, badly.
Yes.
So the reason I say that is we do it particularly well.
Exactly.
In
But
the
to
detriment
our
of
own
our own
detriment.
yes, exactly.
To our own detriment. And a lot of
Exactly.
us don't think, how am I pouring into somebody else's cup when I've not even poured in my own?
Yeah.
How? It's nonsensical, but we do it. We do it all the time, and we do it with a smile. We do it. It's so performative, you know? It's a performance.
And we pride ourselves on
Yeah,
that too,
exactly.
right? So it's not like you're going out and you're doing a performance and you're coming home and saying, why did I do that?
Yeah.
We're like, look at what I've
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
And this is in every aspect of life. And this is what I'm saying about my life. You know, I was like so proud to be I'm proud I'm an overachiever, and I'm proud because I work under stress, and I'm this, and like we lift ourselves up. Only to look at it and say, what are you're lifting yourself up through your own misery.
Yeah. Yes.
And you're proud of this miserable life that you're living.
Yes.
Instead of
And-
stripping all of that away.
And the worst thing is that other women look at us and feel inspired and
Yes.
say things like, you're so strong.
That's
And that's when I got
that's
to slap them across
the worst
face.
sentence on the planet is you're so strong. And I look at them and I was like, if only you knew.
what the strength, the cost it's coming
And then we have social media that makes it even
Yeah.
worse, right? Because we're so
Exactly.
strong on social
Yeah.
media
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
So that mask is a whole different
It's
mask.
a
that we're-
performance.
It's all a
Fawzia,
performance.
it's a performance. I have seen women come to me and we are all leading double lives.
Yeah.
And it takes guts to come out. Whatever conversation you and I had
Absolutely.
earlier on, that is true authenticity where you're comfortable with your truth. Whatever that looks like to the world.
Yeah.
As long as you're comfortable with it.
Absolutely. You know, the one word that I used to hate the most is the word vulnerable. I detested that word. And it's actually just up until a few years ago when
Wow.
I was like, vulnerable is weak and I'm not weak. And my whole life was based on that one statement is I'm not weak. I'm not
identity
vulnerable.
was that of
That was
strength.
my identity. And that's why the whole life and going to the gym and lifting crazy weights and competing and eating chicken and rice all day, it's like, it was because that was my strength. I'm not a weak person. These are the things that I have, these are the things I have to knock off the list in order not to be weak. It wasn't even about being strong. It was about, I'm not going to be weak. So these are the things that I have to not do. I can't be dependent on a man. I have to have my own money. I have to have this. I have to do this. I have to travel. I have to work hard. I have to work crazy hours. I have to put up with bosses who treat me bad. I did all of that in the attempt of not being weak. Because as a woman, don't look at me. And then I also looked at my parents and I said, no, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be weak. I don't want someone to take advantage of me.
Yeah.
Until
Yep.
I was introduced to one of the strongest women I've ever met in my life, called ayahuasca. So let's go. Okay, so what took you to that path?
You know, the years after Bunty's passing were extremely hard because the kid was still very small. I had just joined the family business. I was mentally in a very, very difficult space. And just before I turned 40, and I'm very visual. That's how I learn. I'm a visual learner and I can see things very clearly. I used to fantasize about going for a retreat where I could just be raw and unfiltered and sort of pour out whatever I was feeling.
Okay.
And I found that all the other modalities that I had dabbled in I was not able to cross over the threshold and get to the other side.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure. You would have epiphanies when you do something and say, aha, okay, this is why it's happening. But something inside me was like, Riya, this is we can't carry on like this for longer.
Wow.
Okay. And I knew that we cannot carry on like this for longer meant I would have to take action. Okay. And then I used to travel to Holland 6 times a year for years on end. And I found out just out of the blue, somebody said, oh, by the way, there's an ayahuasca retreat happening. Fawzia, you will not believe. For years on end, I would say before I turn 40, I will have experienced what it is like to be administered the medicine and have a breakthrough. I used to keep saying this to myself. And sure enough, on my 40th birthday, it was a Saturday, despite the KQ pilot strike, despite everything that could go wrong, between me traveling from Nairobi to being at this retreat, I managed to make it happen against all odds.
Wow.
I went for this retreat in Holland. And funny story is that a lot of us have been in touch, that group, we are like pretty tight. So everybody who came there had some shittiest trauma with the exception of one guy. Okay. So everybody, they make you sit around the table. The shaman goes one by one, why are you here? So I said, I'm here. I lost my husband in a tragic manner. I watched him die. I have a 5-month-old child, not being able to get over this whole thing. Somebody else watched his mother commit suicide.
Wow.
Somebody else was deeply in addiction that has ruined everything and literally life has been robbed because of the addiction. This tall Arab man with a curly mop of hair, he's looking at him. Why are you here? He says, I sold my company to Google for $100 million. And I'm like, so why are you here then? You've got a pretty sorted life.
Oh my goodness.
Why are you here?
Yeah, right.
And he says, I'm here to find God.
What a statement.
I'm here
what
to
a
find
statement.
God. I even have goosebumps when I say
Oh my
this.
God. And okay.
The entire retreat, I looked at all of these people around. And it was my first time. There was only one person who knew that I was going for this retreat. That's my sister. And I was like, I owe it to myself. I need to go for this. Because I'm sinking.
Yeah.
Okay. And I also know that when I go for this, I know that I will come back having had some knowledge that I don't have before. Okay. Now, when you do these kind of retreats, or if you're down this path, a lot of people will fall off the way because they'll think you're weird. They'll think that there's something wrong with you. They will think that you're doing drugs.
I got a lot of that.
They will also think that you are not normal.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, it comes back to how can you be true to yourself? Because nobody's living that life where you're sinking. Nobody was
something they're saying, Riya, let me pull you out of the water.
Riya, what do you need to stay afloat?
Yeah.
Of course, there were some people like that. But a lot of the people who don't understand this alternative side of life could give you a lot of judgment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? And that's okay. That's their path too.
Yeah.
Maybe they're coping with gorogas or they're coping with the drinks outside and talk therapy. Good on you.
But I think you said something really important, is that you get to the point where you're so deep in your own muck. And I'm going to put it like that because you're so deep in your own muck.
Exactly
that you tell yourself that I can't go on like this. And I think those were your words.
Yes.
I can't go on like this.
It cannot go on like this.
And to be honest, when it comes to plant medicine, and I've told you this, and I'm very vocal about how I'm a huge advocate of plant medicine. Your muck and my muck are different.
Yes.
Okay, so you being deep in your muck, people can turn around and say, I know, but bichari Riya, she lost her husband and she had a 5-month-old. What's your reason for going?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
You've not lost a husband and you don't have kids and, you have a perfectly fine life. Nobody knows what you're going through. So we all have a different muck.
Yes.
And so I don't have to justify that my muck is bigger than yours or deeper than yours or dirtier than yours. I have to just say those exact words. I can't keep going on like this.
Yeah,
And that's where
exactly.
I got to. I got to the space where I looked at my life and I said, me running after my career and me running after my physical body and me running after all of these external things is not okay anymore.
Yeah.
It's not fulfilling me. It's not giving me that happiness that I thought
Yeah.
I would have. I had the most perfect body. If you look at a picture, people look at that and like, if I had a body like yours, I would have no problems. And I'm like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Actually, when you have a body like mine, you realize how many more problems you have. So I was so deep in the lack of self-worth and looking at myself in the mirror, not thinking I'm beautiful, looking at myself in the mirror, saying I'm not enough, trying to overcompensate by making so much money or traveling and working at these big companies. When somebody asked me, who's Fawzia? I was like, oh, I'm the so-and-so director of so-and-so company of this marketing agency, living in 6 different countries, working at 4 different agencies. And then I would look back and I'm like, wow, every single thing that I've just said, my entire self-identity is based on an achievement.
Yeah.
And whatever the achievement is, my identity is based on an achievement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I sat and I said, I can't go on like this. Because even if I'm the CEO of a company, or even if I own Google, it's not going to be enough.
Yeah.
And that's when I went for the plant medicine. And it's so interesting that you say that when you went there, that everyone had gone to trauma. When my first retreat, when I went, every single person had gone to fix themselves for their kids, except
Wow.
me. Every single person. So the same thing happened. The shaman went around to the room and asked them, so what, I want to, I'm going through a divorce. I want to be a better parent. Oh, I'm going through a separation. I want to be a better parent. Oh, I've been overworked and I have neglected my kids. I want to be a better parent. And it came to me and I said, why am I here with all of you people?
My God.
It hit home that I don't have kids. And it was one of my identities, and I think that I was running after that side, was that one of my lack of identity is that I can't be a woman. How can you be a woman if you haven't given birth to a child? This body was made to birth children. And so how can you be 45 plus and not have given birth? At that time I was 43 plus. And my whole life I was just like, that's what a woman is supposed to do. And I never did that. I never managed. Because I was so busy looking for all of this external things that to validate and to attach myself to, that the internal wasn't fixed. And the one thing that I've always wanted was a kid. And so I sat in this room and I said, wait a second. So why am I here? Kind of like the Arab guy.
Yeah.
Like he spelled Google.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the interesting thing is that the dates that I did ayahuasca was the same date that I was supposed to compete in Italy.
My goodness.
And I was completely ready. I'd prepped and everything. And towards the end of October, I had to make the decision, am I going for ayahuasca or am I going to go step on stage again?
And you chose ayahuasca.
And I chose ayahuasca.
Wow.
So I literally went there with like, everything was prepped. I was on my peak. I looked my best. I was at my peak discipline. Everything was at the peak because I was like, if I'm going to compete in Italy, I better make this count. And I chose ayahuasca. And then I went there for everyone to say that they have kids and they're fixing themselves for kids. And I sat there thinking, why am I here?
And what was your answer to that?
Let's talk about you first. Because I can go on forever.
Okay.
I can talk about ayahuasca until like the cows come home. Okay, so you then made it happen against all odds. And that's how grandmother works, by the way.
Against all odds.
The medicine will make sure that the people who are meant to be there will be there and the people who are not meant to be there will not be there.
Fawzia, I've traveled to Holland 6 times a year or even more without a single flight cancellation. The only time that I faced a cancellation was this KQ pilot strike. And I was
Wow.
like, what the hell? She doesn't want me? Or what is the issue?
Yeah, she was making you work for it.
Yeah. And I was like, no, I am going. On my 40th birthday, 11/11.
Good girl.
I am going to be in a retreat with a shaman administering the medicine, and there's
That is-
nothing that is going to stop
And
me.
that's a very brave move, by the way, because anyone else would have been like, "Oh, this is a sign I'm not supposed to go, so I'm leaving."
Like, no.
Going home.
I'm like, no way. This is for me. It's meant for me. And it's going to happen at any cost.
Wow.
At any cost. So, yes, I went for this retreat. And it was a couple of days because they don't administer it every day.
Yeah.
There has to be a break in between.
Sure.
I would say that the most profound breakthroughs that I have had were at this retreat amidst complete strangers who could hold space for me in a way that I could not even imagine. And the most beautiful thing is the people who were working through just releasing and purging. Some days it took longer.
Yeah.
And nobody would eat dinner until they would see that one of them was walking from the hut and cheering for us the loudest to say, "Oh my God, this is it for you. This is what we were waiting for."
Yeah.
I have goosebumps as I say this. It was so sublime that when I look back, it was the greatest gift that I dared to give myself. And even devoid of anybody's understanding, I owed it to myself and my child.
Yeah.
Because had I not taken that step and been fearful, and Fawzia, this place, like my sister was like, "Are you sure they're not going to abduct you? Are you sure like this?" And I'm like, I just know in my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. When you know, you know.
When you know, you know. You know, and I was like, no, I know this is okay. I remember very clearly that on the last day when they gave us the medicine, my husband and I had a conversation, and I had to go, and I said, "It's time for you to go. I'm okay. It's time for you to go now." And and I remember downloading this so clearly, and he said, "I'm not going anywhere. Okay? Just because you've done ayahuasca doesn't mean you can get rid of me.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere until the time I'm fully convinced that it's
you're
okay now."
That's love.
Fawzia, the friendships, I always feel like I'm a misfit socially, you know. You will not believe the people that I met at this retreat.
Yeah.
I feel so connected
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah.
I feel so unjudged, I feel like I can exist as myself in my full essence with these people.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe because they also understand the journey of plant medicine. Maybe the others don't. But I just have no time for pretense anymore, because such experiences, when they drive you to go there,
Yeah.
you have to be stripped to your bare. Your essence has to shine. Whether or not somebody around you has capacity to hold it or not becomes irrelevant.
Yeah. I mean, that is such a beautiful way that you've put it.
Yeah.
I could not have said it better, but I think, but that's what it is, right? Is that what she does? And when I say she, by the way, I refer to ayahuasca. They call her a female grandmother energy.
Yeah.
Okay, she's a grandmother plant, and what she does is she strips you away from all of those masks that we
Yes.
are wearing,
Pretenses.
all those hats that we wear. Everything that we put, the Band-Aid that we put on top of all of those wounds, she
Yeah.
strips you of
Yeah.
all of that. So when people say, like, is ayahuasca a painful experience? It's painful in the sense that it's taking away all of those things that you've once identified with.
Yes.
So it's stripping you bare.
You purge.
You
There's a
purge.
reason you
Yeah,
purge.
you purge
Yeah.
all of that stuff
Yeah.
that no longer serves you. All of those things that we held inside us, whether it's trauma, whether it's ancestral, whether it's, I need to be this person and I need to impress this person, and I need to make this much money to be seen, or I need to wear these clothes, or whatever it is, it takes you away from
Yeah,
all of that.
that.
And that's the purging, to get to that raw and authentic self of you.
Yes.
And once you get to that clear, you see yourself as God sees you.
Yes.
And you start working from that space, it actually doesn't matter
Yeah.
who's around you, what judgment comes, what people say, how they see it. Doesn't matter. None of that matters.
This log kya kahenge virus,
Yes.
right? after a while it becomes so irrelevant in your story.
Yeah.
Once you start to become aware about what is it that you want out of this life, devoid of any expectations, devoid of all the judgment.
Absolutely.
Because we are staying in society, of course we'll be judged. But then how much of that judgment do you then, from that journey onwards, from that point onwards, allow to dictate your life is also a very
Exactly.
big reality.
Exactly.
You know.
Wow, what a
Yeah.
gift. At 40. I wish I had that gift at 40. Yeah, I mean, my experience was, so in a nutshell, it was to show me all of the reasons. My question to myself was always like, why are you not married? Why have you not found someone to settle? And there's so many people that you would look at me and say, you're never going to settle. To them, settling means having a husband and kids. You're never going to settle down. You're always flying around different countries, working in different places. Are you ever going to settle down? And so you start to question yourself. And I tell this to people all the time. I love the journey of my life. I love where I've been. I love what I've done and I've experienced.
Yeah.
But there's always that little niggle, like you said, when voices are in your head or they keep being told, it sits down back here somewhere. And I always used to ask myself, again, is my purpose of being a woman to have kids and to have a husband? Yeah, sure. We grew up in a conservative enough family to look back and say, well, if all my aunts and all my family members are married, why am I? Where's my shortfall?
Yeah.
And what I did see is I saw a lot of ancestral trauma. So my first day was the purging was just me crying, like flopping around on the floor, crying, me telling myself that don't cry too loud. Even while the medicine is in me, I'm telling myself, don't cry so loud, you're going to disturb the people around you. Or just cry in a corner. It's exactly what you said. You didn't cry in front of your kids. I was so conscious. I would always cry in a bathroom. I never cried in person. I had to be strong for my mom.
Yeah.
Growing up, I wanted to be strong for my mom. So I was like, if my mom's going to cry, I'm not going to cry.
Yeah.
So I would hide and cry in hidden places. And that
also,
little girl,
this, I have to be strong
yes,
for someone, but never for yourself.
Never for yourself. It's always doing it for someone else. Don't let them see that you're weak, or don't hurt them by being weak. And even it went as far as doing it for my friends.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, it was always trying to be strong for my friends. And none of that comes around, by the way, because nobody's being strong for you.
Yeah.
People are letting you be strong for them.
Yes.
They're enjoying their weakness and their vulnerability and their flow of life. And you're here trying to build yourself in like a little box. Let me be strong in this box. Let me confine myself to the space.
And it's so sad that we then find it so hard to receive later on in life.
Absolutely.
Like I've become so much, I was literally so much in my masculine, where I was like the provider, the protector for my child. And then I realized that multiple times if somebody wanted to do something for me, I could not bring myself to receive it.
God, Riya, I feel like I'm talking to myself. I feel like I'm listening to myself right now.
I was like, and then one day I was like, one of my clients was like, can I please buy you coffee? And we went to Sarit, one of the coffee shops. And when the bill came, I paid for my coffee. He looked at me and he goes like, do you think I can't buy you a coffee?
Oh my God, you literally sound like me.
And I was like, that day, Fawzia, I went home thinking, when have I become this masculine version that even for somebody to buy coffee for me, I could not accept it.
But don't you feel like people celebrate that part of you? Like in the sense that nobody when I was growing up said, hey, you should be a bit more feminine. I was never felt like it was okay for me to be feminine. So I embodied this masculine persona for so long that yes, I couldn't receive, but that also became my identity, right? That I'm so strong that look at what the things that I can do for myself. And that's why I had to be the person who made the most money. So I always dated people that didn't make as much money as me. I attracted that behavior because I was like, no, I can take care of it. You don't worry.
Because you're equalizing that in so many other ways, which are not good for your femininity. right? Because we don't identify, there's no resonance anymore with that archetype of being feminine. When I joined the business, I was always surrounded by men. Okay. I would go internationally for meetings. I was the only woman from Africa chosen for the world's largest auction, Flora Holland. And I would always be the only woman in the room. And then I started to dress in.
I was just gonna.
Oh, I was like,
No, you took the words out of my mouth. Like I worked with banks, and when I worked at the an agency in Doha, I was always dealing with men. And for some reason, because I'd worked at the bank, they were like, "Oh, you've worked with financial institutions before. Let's put you. Your clients are all financial institutions." So I would go into banks, and I'd be in boardrooms with like 12 men dressed like that. So I felt like, oh, the only way they're going to take me seriously is if I start to dress like that.
Yes.
And so my thing was like, oh, I have suits. I only wear suits to work.
This, Fawzia, was something that I did, and then I'd always like talk loudly.
Yeah.
Or I would not, if something made me happy, I would just be very controlled with my emotions. And then one day, one of the other girls, I was just talking to her about it, and she said, Riya, darling, if you are in your femininity, you'll be able to achieve a lot more.
Yeah.
You're not a man. Don't try to be one.
Oh, I'm only just learning that over the last few years, by the way.
Yeah. And
It's not a big thing. It's not like, oh, I came to this realization like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No, this is a very new thing for me too.
And then I said, okay. I started to document how was I behaving, how was I
Yeah.
talking, why was I always aggressive? I was
Right.
always aggressive.
I know people have called me aggressive 100 times.
Yeah.
before.
And then I was like, no, I only want to be aggressive when it matters. I don't want to
Yeah.
be always in my fight or flight. Which is the next fire is Riya going to put out? I didn't want to do that anymore. It's exhausting.
It's exhausting. But I feel like a lot of women who do work in spaces like that kind of embody that. Now, coming back a little bit to my ayahuasca experience, I think plant medicine actually taught me that it's okay to be feminine. She actually opened up a lot of my femininity.
Wow.
I didn't even go into my first journey. And this is such a great segue because I wasn't really going to talk about this, but she didn't let me go into my first journey. I kept taking medicine. I kept looking around me. I kept saying people are already journeying. Why am I not? And then I started to say, because this is my also something that I tell myself a lot is that, oh, you're too broken for this medicine. You're too broken. Even she can't fix you.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
sat there like crying, saying, wow, I'm so broken inside that even the most powerful medicine known to mankind cannot help me. And right when I was in that spiral, she said, stand up and dance. And I was like, no way. I was like, I don't dance. And she was like, stand up and dance. And I was like, no, I don't dance. And I literally sat in this space thinking, I can't even think about dancing. Like, that's not me anymore. I'm a bodybuilder. I go to the gym and lift weights. I lift 120 kilos. What? I'm not going to stand and dance. And it was like knocking at my head. Stand up and dance. And it wasn't until I stood up and danced that I went into my first journey.
My gosh.
And that was the first time that I felt she's just telling me, be soft.
Yeah. Soft.
It's okay.
Yeah,
Be
it's
soft.
okay to be in your feminine.
And the whole journey, okay, there's so much realization. If we try to, maybe we need a whole new podcast with just me and you talking about our journeys, which will happen one day for sure. But I did see a lot of ancestral, my paternal, with the women in my paternal lineage
Yeah.
had all been hurt by men in some way or another, whether it was cheated by or left or divorced or whatever it might be. There was so much pain on my paternal side, and they were trying to protect me from going through the same kind of pain with a man. And I had to release so much of that
Yeah.
that's not mine.
Yeah.
And I
it's not
kept
yours
saying
to
it's not
carry.
mine.
Yeah.
Like, let me have my experience.
Yeah.
But I'll just loop back into the whole parent thing.
Yes.
I fully 100% gave birth, and I've never said this out loud, but I gave birth in my first ayahuasca journey. And when I say give birth, I mean I was in like what I can only assume is Lamaze class, like my legs spread open, one of the helpers holding me. I felt contractions. I pushed. I felt the contraction. I felt when I needed to push. I pushed
Wow.
out for hours for what, again, time has no concept when you're in medicine, but what to me felt like hours, being there at the altar, giving birth to a child.
That's incredible.
And I've always wondered what, for me, I was there when my sister gave birth. She had a beautiful natural birth. I sat there and watched the whole thing, how the baby came out, what she went through, the breathing and everything. And I said, wow, I'm never going to get to experience this in my life. And I did through the medicine.
Oh my goodness.
It was the most beautiful thing that I could ever imagine. I know the pain is a whole different story, but I felt the pain. I felt the anguish. I felt the exhaustion. I was sweating. I had to take my trousers. I was like, I just don't want to be, why am I wearing trousers right now? Like, it was so beautiful for me to be able to say that that one thing that I thought that a woman needed to do, and
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be able to do that, she gave me that gift of giving birth.
That's incredible. I have, yeah, goosebumps. So many. Wow.
And I think when it comes to plant medicine, when it comes to breakthroughs, when it comes to trauma and holding on the pain, I think the most important thing is what you said, is that there's a different modality for everyone. And
Yes.
just wait to see what works for you. So I will never knock one over the other. Yes, I'm a big believer in plant medicine. I've done over, I don't know, I've sat with the medicine over 10, maybe 12 times now. I'm a really, really big believer of it. But I also believe that there's so many different ways to get the help that you need. And for me, that's the most important thing, is that if you're sitting with your life and saying, it's not okay to be like this is not enough, go out and do something.
Absolutely. And I also just want to say that a lot of people feel that financial constraints, or there's always that element I see whenever women want to seek help, and I see this a lot. They'll be like, oh, but I don't have the finances. I always feel that, agreed, everybody's financial landscape looks very different. But you can begin somewhere.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's that action from your end.
Correct.
To say, what is the first step that I can take? How do you eat the pink elephant in the room? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
So don't feel like, oh, no, if I don't have $3,000 to go on a retreat, then
Right.
it's
Absolutely. And
nothing.
neither one of us just woke up one morning and said,
Yeah,
okay, I
exactly.
feel horrible. I'm
Yeah,
going to go for
yeah.
ayahuasca. That came
After
along
a series of experimenting
absolutely.
with different things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And look, I want to put the invitation out there for whoever's listening.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that if you're looking for help, reach out.
Yes.
And if you're willing to give the help, reach out also.
Yeah.
So maybe this can be a platform while we're talking, is that we connect some therapy to someone who really needs it. I don't know. Let's make each other better.
Yes.
Let's uplift each other.
Totally.
It's not always, I have made the money and I've lost the money, and I've made the money and I've lost the money. And I've realized that that's not what's important.
Yeah.
Helping is what's important.
Exactly. Showing somebody the path or guiding them towards
Yeah.
it gently at their own pace. Nothing has to happen overnight. And like you rightly said, Fawzia, we just didn't wake up one day and said, chalo, let's go to ayahuasca. No, it didn't. It doesn't work
No.
like that. You will have to go through a series of things.
Yes.
And then there comes a point where the penny drops, where you say, no, this cannot continue.
Right.
If I don't take massive action for myself now, it cannot continue. And you will know
It'll come.
it comes.
First of all, with plant medicine, she finds you.
Yes, yes.
You don't have to go searching for her.
Yes.
I did think I did, but I waited years and years and years.
Yeah.
And she finally found me. So that's the one thing I can guarantee, is that nobody has to ask that question. Like, people will ask me, will I know when I'm ready? I'm like, you'll know.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no doubt. There'll never be a doubt in your mind that am I or am I not. But in the meantime, like you said, there's so much more we can do for ourselves.
Yes. And also, with the beauty about the plant medicine is when you journey or any therapy that requires you to cross over to the other side, it's always, I go in always saying, show me what I need to see, tell me what
Yeah.
I need to know. And you get your answers. You do,
Absolutely.
you know, and it's magical. We don't need a third person to help us in healing, in terms of we just need to be accountable and say, I want to try this, I want to experiment, and take a bet on yourself.
And what I think the last thing I'm going to ask you is that since then, since we have to wrap up, unfortunately,
Yes.
since your plant medicine journey, how do you feel? I think we've touched on this a little bit, but how do you feel like that shaped your life to date?
It's shaped my life immensely, particularly as a parent. I have been more accepting of my journey as a single parent.
Yeah.
And not acceptance in terms of like superficial, to know that Yuvraj chose me for a greater purpose. He chose me because we have to do life together without Bunty.
Right.
And that in itself is the greatest purpose. There's a greater purpose to that,
Absolutely.
you know. And I was not in acceptance of that before. I was like, oh, why did Bunty leave me? I hate you. How could you do
Yeah.
this?
Why do I have to be a single
Why do I
parent?
have
Why
to
do I
be
have
a
to do all this
single
alone?
parent?
Yeah.
But there's a purpose. There is more to the dynamics of him physically leaving us and Yuvraj being here with me.
Yeah.
And I'm a lot more in my feminine. Please buy me coffee, no
Yeah.
problem.
I say it all the time. I'm open to receiving flowers.
Exactly. I'm
coffee,
open
everything.
to receiving.
Yeah.
I'm open to
Yeah.
receiving, and I never used to be.
Yeah, me too.
Because fundamentally, I thought, no, what do you mean? I need to pay for my own coffee. And I think I'm so much more जिंदगी जीने के लिए है.
Yeah. Life is
I
for
gave
living.
myself permission
To live
to
life.
live after long.
Yeah. That's the nice.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
you. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Life is for living.
It absolutely is.
It's not for you to be stuck. It's not for you to be stagnant, no matter what your circumstances. And there are people going through shit. I see people all the time. They can't come out of toxic marriages, or their relationships dynamics are such at home or whatever. Your job, it could be anything. Like, people go through a multitude of things. But take a chance.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like.
I love that.
And reach out. Yeah.
I love that. That's it. I mean, I don't even think I can end on a better note. Like, thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your experience and being so brave to talk about both your psychic abilities and also your ayahuasca experience.
Thank you.
And I'm definitely coming to see you.
Please do. And I want to say one thing about
Please.
you. Whenever I would look at you, and I never, I've not interacted with you a lot of times. And surprisingly, we talked about ayahuasca at some meeting that we were both at or something. I've always admired you because you've always been in charge, and that version of you, whenever I would see you, I'd be like, wow,
Thank you.
she's walking the talk.
Just don't say the word strong.
No. And when I see this version, take a bow, because honestly, I salute you, Fawzia. You are speaking about things that people don't want to speak about, but you're not shying away from, let's talk about this. It matters.
Absolutely.
You are having conversations that matter. So thank you, and God bless your podcast and the work that you do.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would love to partner up one day with you and do big things in the plant medicine space.
I'm definitely willing to do that. I think that's somewhere I'm very passionate about it. I know that the conversation needs to be had, and people need to hear what they have to say, and they need to realize that how profoundly healing this space is.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, best podcast, everyone. Thank you. I think I need to breathe a little bit before I even go into this, but what a phenomenal episode that was. I learned so much about Riya Sharma. There's so much rawness to her, so much inner beauty. We shared tears and we shared laughter and shared information about things that neither one of us has ever talked about before. Riya Sharma has gone through so much in her life, and I'm so, so blessed to have had her on the show. If you know anyone struggling with grief, or if you yourself are struggling with any kind of grief and are looking for a therapist, please put a comment below and we will try and get you the help that you need. If you need any more information about ayahuasca, reach out, DM me, or again, put a comment down and I am happy to talk more and even have a one-on-one if you're really looking for that kind of therapy. I'm a huge believer in plant medicine, and this episode is the start of so many more episodes that we have to go. You'll be getting a wealth of information through Life Unfiltered by Fawz. And thank you for watching.